Well, things are getting real. So today I have a special announcement. I am making a feature film in a couple of months, which is both exciting and also terrifying. And today I want to talk about not only how this feature film came about, but why making the film that you can is better than making the film of your dreams. This has been a long time coming. I've been working in the film industry for around 20 years. I've directed a lot of shorts. I've edited and produced feature films, but this will be the first time that I'm actually stepping into the director's role. The film is called Concrete River. It is about a unhoused musician who is trying to reconnect with his estranged daughter through a song that he's trying to finish and then give to her. And along the way, he meets a wayward teenage drifter, and they form a little family and they change how each other sees the world. This story began with a text from my DP, Kevin Perry, right after he saw Breakaway, and he was like, I've got an idea for you. Let's meet up. And we met up, and he told me about an unhoused guy who would sell all kinds of things to the construction crews and like production crews that were downtown. He would just ride around and try to sell people like knives, tasers, all kinds of random stuff. And he was like, you should make that your next short film. And I was like, okay, I don't really know what to do with that, but I'll think about it and kind of see what I come up with. I started thinking of like, okay, I don't want to just like sell knives, but I like the idea of like a guy running around selling a bunch of different stuff. So maybe he could sell like, I don't know, silverware or something, but he has to have like a catchphrase, which I came up with like eat right all night, and all these little pieces started to like form. And then the pandemic hit. I was really busy during the pandemic. I worked at a company called Kin. I was editing all different kinds of like digital lifestyle shows, so I didn't really have a spare moment to really think about writing anything, but I would write down like little notes. When the pandemic was finally over and I had some free time because the company I was working for shut down, I started actually working on this script in earnest. So the first thing I did was do a deep dive on who these characters actually were. I knew we had our main character whose name I thought of should be Travis. Don't ask me why, it just popped into my head. A lot of things just pop into my head and I write them down, and if they feel good, I run with it, and if they don't, I throw it away. Another story that my DP told me was about a producer friend of his who works a lot with raising money for veterans who need resources. And because her father is a unhoused veteran who has some mental issues, and every once in a while he'll just like show up and make a scene. So between that, I knew I had the beginning, which was following an unhoused person, and the ending of the unhoused father reuniting with his daughter and then having some sort of scene. That was it. So I did a deep dive into who Travis was, who the daughter was, but then I knew there needed to be like somebody else in there because it's kind of hard to have a movie about a guy all by himself. So I started working on who this character was, who are the people that he knows, who are the people around him that are actually like helping him, because even though somebody is living on the street, they still have a community around them. There are people who they interact with every day. There are people who give them help, give them resources. As I've been doing research, there's a lot of things that people do that you would think, well, that's not something that somebody who doesn't have a house does, like go to the gym. Yeah, they actually do. They go to the gym. Sometimes they even have like a regular job. It just doesn't pay enough to like pay for the rent, especially out here in Los Angeles where everything is super ass expensive. So I had this like framework, and the next step that I did was build out a beat sheet, figuring out, okay, what is happening in each and every single scene. And I did this by using a tool called ClickUp, where I could just like make a list and then I could move everything around as I saw fit, so I could actually see in front of me how this would actually work. Even though you're writing it down on paper, nothing is actually set in stone. The script will change a bunch of different times. I'm on draft 12 now, and there's probably going to be like a draft 15 by the time we actually get to shooting it. And then there's going to be another draft while we're shooting it. So it's going to keep changing all the time in order to put myself in that mental space of this is a living document and not getting tied down to anything. Starting with something that I can move around was really, really important. Once I had that, I just started writing the thing out, going scene by scene with all the character work that I had done. And I had the first draft in about, I'd say, a month. One of the things that I wanted to do this time around was actually get feedback in a way that was conducive to making the script better. There's a thing that filmmakers do where We put our scripts out there thinking that this is our baby. This is a work of art. This is our genius on paper. And when we get the feedback, we can take it personally. We can feel like somebody is like insulting us or our work. We really just have to get into the mindset that the work is really done and the creative genius comes out when you're rewriting. So sending my script out was a way for me to like get initial impressions, see what was coming across, what was working, what wasn't working, and where I could go from there. So I sent it out to a lot of different screenwriting competitions, not with the idea that I was going to win the competition, but I wanted the feedback. I wanted to see what the judges were saying, what was showing up, what needed some work, and then I can move on to making the script better. And to my surprise, it was a semifinalist in 2 different screenwriting competition, which had never happened to me ever before. I mean, this was actually probably the second time I'd actually sent something off for a screenwriting competition. So I was very pleasantly surprised that from an early draft, it was, ma'am, oh ma'am, this is what happens when you try to make videos, is that sometimes your dog comes in because she's afraid of a fly. So she needs to be consoled, right? All right. All right. Let's move on. So sending it out and having such a very good impression on an early draft started to give me confidence, but also still, I was looking for the feedback and I got a good idea of what wasn't working. And mainly what wasn't working was, while my main male character was very strong, my female character was not. Girl that he meets on the street, she's just like kind of there and she just kind of follows along. So he's got a big personality. So I decided to give her a big personality and have these big 2 personalities clash against each other, which makes for a better movie when you've got 2 people who are so similar that they don't get along and they can see each other's faults, but not recognize that that person's fault is actually their own fault. Fast forward about 11 drafts later, we had a table read. I invited a bunch of actors, and in particular, there was an actor named Jaquan Cole, or JQ as I call him, who I've known since my very first failed attempt at making a short film here in Los Angeles. He came in at like the last minute to do a scene that was going to be on a laptop where he interrogated another actress who actually is Evelyn Lorena, who I've worked with for about 10 years, which just goes to show you, you never know who you're going to end up collaborating with, and you never know what's going to be the result of something. And this is how films actually get made, is by building relationships. So I've known JQ since that time. He's been in things like Winning Time and the Wu-Tang Clan show and Snowfall. Every now and again, I'll like see updates on Instagram and I just send him like, hey, you're doing great. Great job. Proud of you. Congratulations. So when I sent him the script, he was like, dude, are you spying on me? This is my life. I've experienced like a lot of what's happened to this character, not the living out on the street in a tent part, but he's been what I call actor homeless. You couch surf with some friends for a little bit, and then you like find a place to put all your stuff, which is, in his case, was his car. So I had a table read to like kind of see how he would do in it, and also to like actually hear what it's like coming out of an actor's mouth, because what you write on paper and what you hear can sound completely different when a person actually like reads it out loud, a trained professional person, that is. I'm always of the mind frame that if I hear something and it doesn't sound right, I'm going to change it in order to make it sound more realistic, because I just think that's a better way to work.
See that inflection working? It's got a rhythm to it. You know, you could hear it, but I also see it.
So we had the table read. It went great. After that, my producer Chris, who was the DP of my last short film, Breakaway, was like, hey, I want to produce this movie. I'm going to go ahead and finance it so we can make this happen. Now, originally, I had been operating under the idea that we were going to do this the way that Whiplash was made. Kevin Perry, our DP, worked on Whiplash. I believe he was the key grip. And what they did was they made a proof of concept short film, which they then turned into a feature film. And we were thinking we were going to do that. We'd make a really great short film. We put it in festivals. We try to get some like interest attached to it. And then we'd make a feature film for like $2.5 million. So I wrote a short version, which was actually good exercise because some of the stuff from that short version ended up being in the longer one. But let's just say that after the election results came in, I did not think there was going to be the appetite for putting lots of funding behind a story about an unhoused man with a mostly black cast. That was just my gut feeling. And also, while I've done a lot of work and have a good track record of delivering results, I have never been in charge of directing a feature film, and I also do not have access to $2.5 million, which was the budget that we got back when we first sent it off. Not saying that I can't, but it would just be a longer road to make it happen. And would I rather wait to make the movie that of my dreams, or would I rather just make the movie right now? My producer said, hey, why don't you do the exercise of figuring out what this film would look like if we made it for, let's say, $100,000. So I did it, and I came back to it and I was like, oh, we actually can make this for lower than what I'd imagined. We'd have to scale back some things, but kind of the beauty of independent or non-dependent filmmaking is that in that scaling back is where you make creative choices, which is how a film can actually be better. Now, just because your budget is scaled back does not mean that the execution gets scaled back. Chris and I have been working in the business for a while. We know how to balance the we need to maintain our resources with we need to bring an element of professionalism to a production. So that's what we're doing. We're kind of marrying those two in between. And we brought on another producer who is a writer's assistant working for the writer of the new Running Man movie that's going to be come out. So check out Running Man when it comes out. Do me a favor, support her. We are kind of marrying this independent with professional with studio experience all into one. And we're doing it on a lower budget level and have it look like we spent more than we actually are. Chris and I have both acted as producers, so we kind of know what we're getting into, and we know like what we can get away with, how we can push the envelope, and how we can make something look expensive by not spending a lot of money. The main character rides around on a bike a lot, so one of the things that we're going to do is our DP has his own bike, and because he works on a lot of the Star Wars shows, he has access to a lot of help who can build a special rig that we can attach a camera to a bike, which is something that you would normally spend a lot of money to rent. But because he's been working as a grip and a best boy and in the lighting department for a while, he kind of knows what he can get away with. The other thing is post-production. Post-production is where really a lot of films go to die because you don't plan for it. You just kind of like shoot a bunch of stuff and throw it off to somebody and be like, you figure it out. But Chris and I are going to be tag teaming the editing effort. And because we have that experience, we know it not only helps us like shoot better, but we can plan for the post-production process. So that way we don't get like bogged down and we're editing for like 5 years, which has happened to a lot of films. We have visual effect elements. We're going to have to like pay for that. Our DP is also an amazing colorist, so that will help us to save some money. And he's delivered like 5 different feature films. There's a process that happens when you make a feature film and after you've edited it and you're ready to like get it out there, where you have to go through what's called deliverables, which means you have to hand it off to somebody who's going to do the color, somebody who's going to do the sound, somebody who's going to do all the VFX. And if you're not familiar with that process, it can take a long time. But then when that all comes back, then you have to then be able to marry it all together and then export it in a way so that it's like screenable. Different film festivals have different requirements for how they want to screen it. If it ends up on television, then that's a whole nother set of requirements. If it's in a theater, that's a whole other set of requirements. And between Chris, Kevin, and I, we've all done those for a long time. I've done a lot of broadcasts. Chris has done a lot of broadcasts. Obviously, we've done a lot of stuff that goes on digital or on the web. And Kevin has done a lot of stuff that's gone to like theaters and streaming platforms. So we know what to look out for. So that way we can plan accordingly. I also want to say that while we have been conditioned that we have to consistently produce, I have to consistently produce videos, we have to consistently produce things on social media, there is a value in separating what you need to do on a continuous basis and the things that you want to take your time with. This feature film has essentially taken around 5 years to make. I started thinking about it in the year 2020. I thought about it for 3 years, and then I didn't start writing it until 2023. And then I wrote it from like the beginning of 2023. The first draft was done in January, and I'm still writing it. Had I just written a draft and then immediately gone out to try and shoot it, I'm sure I could have done it, but it would not be in the place that it is now. And it also wouldn't be getting the kind of like interest in other people who want to jump on board like it is right now. Taking the time to work on things is something really valuable. Don't feel the need to keep up with somebody else who seems like they're doing great things. They may have resources that you don't have access to. They probably have a team that you either haven't built yet or just doesn't have the capabilities of doing the same exact thing that you are. Don't try to run somebody else's race. Take the time that you need to make something that will make you happy, not trying to satisfy what you think will make somebody else happy. One of the comps that I am doing for this film, structuring it similar to how the filmmakers behind the movie Sing Sing and Jockey structured their films, which means everybody on the film is getting paid the exact same rate. It's the SAG minimum, which is around $249 per day. And we are also making sure that everybody has a piece of the back end, which means when the movie comes out and it makes money, we're going to make sure that everybody is taken care of. What does that mean? Because a lot of times you'll make a movie and I mean, this has happened to me where I've been offered this, where people have said, we're going to only pay you a little bit, but you'll get a piece of the movie when it comes out. We don't really have a plan for what to do with it, but we're going to submit to Sundance and see what happens. That's kind of the strategy, is we'll submit to Sundance and then we'll see what happens with the movie. That's not our strategy. That's not my strategy. That's the way that I think. I've been doing a lot of like experiments and working on tools that can identify who the audience is for this movie. So I have that. So I know exactly who I'm going to go after. And we're formulating a plan and thinking about how we're going to market this movie and get it out there in advance. I'm not going to be doing the heavy lifting on that. I'm going to bring somebody else to do that, but we're definitely budgeting for that. That's part of what we want to plan for and allocate resources for. So that way we're putting our best foot forwards in order to get this movie in front of the right people, tell them to watch it, and then take it from there. The other thing that we're doing is, because this movie is about a father giving a song to his daughter, music is a very important element of it. So we're trying to find the right artist, allocate some more resources to making a soundtrack, because if we can have a really good movie and a really good soundtrack to go along with it, that will go a very, very long way towards getting an audience to go see the movie. Because the more people know about it and the right people know about it, the more they are willing to go and actually spend money to see it, which means you can make your money back. And hey, who knows? Maybe we could actually make some money on top of it and then go do another one, because that's really the goal of being a filmmaker, is not to just make your magnum opus. It's to be able to do it again and again and again. And that's what myself, my producer, and actually my company mission is to be able to make wonderful things that have a social meaning and tell us about who we are as people and provide us lessons, but to be able to also do it on a repeated basis, because it doesn't really do anybody any good who worked on it, because we're asking people to like take a huge pay cut to work on this movie. If we don't then do the thing of actually doing our best to get the movie in front of people, then we've wasted everybody's time who spent it working on it, when they could have spent that time working on things that would do a better job of paying their bills. So that's where we're at. We are making a movie in a month. Saying that out loud is both exciting and nerve-wracking, terrifying a little bit. But it is the good kind of terrifying. It's the thing where a project goes from being a project in your brain and, ooh, wouldn't it be really nice to make this, to, yeah, we're actually making this, we're actually doing this, and I'm going to do my best to make sure that I make the best movie possible. And I think this also goes to show you that the best thing you can do for being any type of artist is to create what you actually can. We all have dreams of like the big film that we're going to make, and we need this and we need that. But what it really comes down to is finding the right people, surrounding yourself with them and working together to make something happen, especially in the film business. Making a film is really a bunch of different people coming together where you're harnessing all of their talents and abilities and moving in a direction. My job as the director is to really put people who are specialists in the right position to use their specialty. I mean, that's why you have a director of photography. That's why you have a production designer. It's all of us working together. And my job is to just kind of point them in the direction for them to do their thing. This movie would not have been possible if it wasn't because of the relationships that I had built along the way. I know a lot of times people think that like, and this has happened, and I've worked on those projects where somebody like gets something from the outside that they weren't expecting, and then they can go off and make a movie. But even when you get that, it still involves building a team of people that you mesh with and who all work together in a collaborative fashion. Because most of the time it's going to be you sitting down with some friends, like who knows somebody who can do this, who knows somebody who can do that. And that's how you actually build momentum in your career. To sum it up, surviving as a filmmaker is about building relationships. It's about how do you get along with other people? How can you work with other people? And how can you all get on the same page? There's a lot that we can do on our own, but we can go even farther if we find the right people we can go together with. I am going to be documenting everything, not only here, but I also write about it twice a week on my Substack. So if you go to mauricelytica.substack.com, which I will also leave in the description below, I will not only be giving updates on our progress as we make the movie, but I will also give insight into the processes that go behind every decision that we make. Our casting sessions, to what a script breakdown is like, to how we're thinking about getting this movie in front of an audience, and also some other special things that I'll be giving away. If you want to stay up to date with that, go to my Substack and you'll get it there. So thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.